as strong and grow and viable as we can. And I know from the coach's perspective, from Coach Bond and my fellow coaches, as I was the coach the last couple of years in Brampton. But what I really want to learn is from your perspective, what we can do better. Now, before I open it up for questions from you, let me give you a quick vantage point of where I see the league today. If you hadn't heard, we stubbed our toes a few weeks ago. Game 7 was something that none of us are proud of. But one reporter in Niagara said, do you think that's a watershed moment? And when I think of watershed moments, I think of births. And that's a watershed moment when you come through a birth canal and watersheds and new life comes out of that. And I think that's kind of what we have to look at is, as an ownership group, historically, our owners have been 8 to 9 individuals that have a lot of their own identity and their own issues that they want to see done. And they really haven't operated always as a cohesive unit. Since about 2 months ago, this ownership group has been together like never before. They unanimously handled the discipline that came from that day. They unanimously handled bringing in a new president, Vito Fergia, who's the president and for I think a 2-year term from London. And then they unanimously brought me in to be the commissioner. So they're operating in a way that they've never operated before as a group, which is a very positive thing. The ownership group from Niagara, the newest franchise, are 3 young entrepreneurs that have done really well in business. Really smart, really sharp. They're not necessarily basketball guys, they're business guys. They were at Game 7 and they had put their deposit money down, but they hadn't put the rest of their money into the league yet. Had been approved, had been announced, but they had wiggle room. And they legally could have walked away and said, give me my money back, I'm going to go away. Instead, they put the rest of their money in, which is 5 times the amount of money they had down. Had a big press conference. They've already sold 100 season tickets courtside in a beautiful new venue that they're going to be playing in. And you go, these are pretty smart guys. If they have faith in this league after what happened, how can we not have faith? Then tomorrow I'm going to go meet with some prospective owners in Sydney, Cape Breton. Cape Breton, is what I saying that right? Mm-hmm. And they're looking to get in the league. And I think that's an exciting thing. We have to shore up ownership group in Moncton. We've got to change some dynamics in Halifax and make that the flagship market of the East because of its size and its passion for basketball and really help it grow. But it's overall, the opportunity is unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. It's really an exciting time right now. So while there was something negative that happened, I see a lot of life in this league and it's going to be really good. We're going to go out and do 15 combines all over North America, 5 in Canada and 10 in the US, partly to propagate our name. The people will know that there is a pro league in Canada. Also because we can get exposure and find players that may not be able to afford an airplane ticket to Toronto or Florida, but if I'm in their backyard, they'll sure come out and see if they're good enough. So hopefully we can find some talent that way, and quite frankly, it'll generate a little extra revenue for the league. We're going to aggressively go after some national sponsorship, but that's not going to be until we really prove these wins happen. We get the 6-man group here is a model that I'm trying to learn and get my arms around because I think it's something that's duplicatable in other markets. We need to have local groups of owners that help us build our market. I applaud what Ian has been able to do with you all because what this becomes is it becomes a way of life for you owners. So when you're walking around with your mill rat stuff on, people are asking you what that is. And there you're telling them the gospel according to the mill rats and you're bringing people back out here. And before you know it, I think you see this thing really build and excitement grow. And not that I'm prophesying, but I would be surprised if in the next 3 to 4 years you don't see this place packed every game.
That's right.
And that's because it's just exposure. You meet someone that's disappointed they weren't the first seat, but they were the second seat, and they've been here ever since. How exciting is that? I mean, people have come here that don't even necessarily know a lot about basketball, but they experience it and they fall in love with it. So there's a lot of great things that's going on in St. John that we want to take and use the rest of the league. I'm excited to be here. My background is I played basketball 100 pounds ago and 2 good hips ago and a lot more hair ago. Then I coached basketball for a long time in Florida before I came up here and helped start the A's. And it's just, from all of my experiences in life, I've also been a businessman that worked for the Royal Bank of Scotland, the Royal Bank of Canada, the Bank of Montreal, and have done mostly sales background stuff. So it seems like this is a pretty good fit for me to move from basketball into this part of the business. So, what I wanted to do is come out and introduce myself, give a little bit of the vision of what we're trying to do, and then really open it up to questions. And who knows, you might see this land, your comment or question land its way into the business plan, because I really am trying to learn and listen to what we think can be better. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions or comments or concerns that you have about our league, or directions we're going, or how we're going to overcome an obstacle.
How close are we to having a team in Fredericton?
I would say far. Tyrone Livingston, who's heading the group looking in Sydney, Cape Breton, he looked at Fredericton first and didn't find the proper venue and the proper partnership of an ownership group yet. That doesn't mean we won't find one. It's just, of our list, I think we'd like to look harder at Kitchener. We'd like to do Sydney. We'd like to look at Montreal again. And ultimately, I'd like to go out west. I think that 4 to 5 to 6 team division out west can be pretty compelling. You could see where enough teams around, we could have a playoff system that would lead to maybe a Final Four or something like that, and where we don't necessarily have to travel cross country to play every team every year, but there'll be some of that, but more of that. I think that gives us something to talk to TSN and ESPN and people like that about as we grow more globally across the entire country. Yes.
I really enjoy watching the games on YouTube. What's the next step for monetizing the video streaming of the game? Is YouTube the right channel, or is there other ones we're looking at?
Well, that's a great question, Mike. We got great feedback on YouTube this year. It really was a good product for us. We're looking at other things right now that I have not dug in deep enough to give you an accurate assessment. But monetizing YouTube is as simple as getting commercials on a lot of our games. If you went to Brampton A's game, we talk through timeouts because we don't have commercials. Right. Windsor does a good job of commercials. London does a decent job of commercials. I didn't watch enough of your all's games because I was scouting mine more on that side. But I think that ultimately, a national sponsorship deal could be interesting. If we could get a deal with the Bank of Montreal, and I'm just throwing a name out there, and they were able to maybe sponsor a special themed game throughout the year, and then their commercials would run on YouTube. These are extra value adds that we can give a national sponsor, that as we all are on the same. When we first started, again, when you look at what I said about the ownership group, last year the YouTube thing was wildly successful, but we didn't start the season with everybody on it. There were a couple teams that decided to stay their own way, and then they realized about halfway through, man, this YouTube thing is cool. And they ultimately got on there. So as we have everybody in the same place and all of the league operating, then we have something to market that we can say in all 9 markets, every game, this commercial is going to be run. And I think that will give us something to sell at some point. David Stern and now Adam Silver are really trying to respect global basketball. And I had a meeting on Monday with the Raptors, and one of the conversations they had is they really want to honor our league because they see it as building basketball in Canada. And they recognize they're Canada's team. And having everybody love basketball across Canada is ultimately going to benefit them as well. So when there's 10,000 people jumping up and down in Jurassic Square, there's probably another 100,000 people that are NBL Canada fans that are following the Raptors as well. So there becomes a benefit to them just by being in relationship with us. So I think that can be something that's going to occur. Yes, things we can monetize. I mean, we can do school tours. We can do autograph zones. We had in Brampton, we had something called the Hope Zone, and there were 8 seats that we just sat aside front row on the end zone for a family in need, a family who had lost a child was sick. They were just hurting, and then we went to a local sponsor who said, "I'd be more than happy to put my name on that." See, businesses want to sponsor things that they're seen as helping and giving to the community. So the more of those types of things we can get as a group, We have in London, they do an amazing job with abused women. They have an exposure event where the team wears purple, and we're going to present this to the entire league to do. And the entire league would have a game that they wear purple, and we would talk about the abusive nature of shelters and support that and bring them out and just really do good things in our community, whether it's a cancer game or whatever it is. Well, those are things I think businesses want to be a part of, more so than saying I got an ad on a jumbotron or I got my name on your jersey. Those are great if a team's winning and they're doing wonderful. But I think as we do community stuff and they really understand that, I think we can get sponsorship for those things. That's not the reason why we do them, but it's absolutely something that can help our league grow and get good exposure. The NBA Cares has been a wonderful program that has helped drive the NBAs and change their image.
What about a better relationship with Canada basketball?
Great question. I didn't know we didn't have such a good relationship until I got here. I think that we need to have more of a conversation with them too. I think that we need to understand their end goal and how we can help them get there and explain our goal.
Because we're competing for sponsorships then.
I think so. I think we absolutely are. I think that, and there's no reason why we both can't win. There's no reason why our relationship with Canada basketball can't build and promote Canada basketball, can't help raise funds for them. At the same time, we should be able to do the same thing for our league because they put their stamp on our league and they're proud of what we do. And to get them comfortable that we're doing all the right things, I think that's just a lot of conversation and relationship. The good news is they're in Toronto. I'll be in London. That's not far away, and I'm expecting to meet their president in the next few weeks and sit with her and understand what her concerns are and maybe what her expectations would be and see what we can do to fulfill them. We don't want to be their adversary, just like we don't want to be the Raptors' adversary. We want to promote basketball in Canada and collectively help all of us. That rising tide lift all ships type of thing. Help us all grow. These are great questions. Andrew?
What would be what would be the top three things you want to accomplish as commissioner?
I think number one is I want the image of the league to be proper. I want it to be an image of I want an aggressive play but not dirty play. I want fast pace. I want guys that do things the right way. I want clean players in the league. And from that standpoint, we want to really make the league's image, because everybody agrees the on-court product is really, really good. But everything that goes around that has to improve and get stronger. So I want to fix that. The refereeing, empowering the refereeing, make them better. And then I want to shore up the finances of the league. I want this office, my pay, and everything that goes through the league's office should be standalone at some point where we generated enough revenue to cover that as a league. And then individually, we need to make each franchise strong financially. If you've got 9 franchises and 10 or 12 or 15, and all of them make money, you just got a strong, you got a strong position to work from. I think that sponsorship becomes easier when franchises make money. We're not panicking. We're not asking for things that are outlandish. We're not doing deals that don't make any sense. We're doing things that make sound business practices. So I would say those 3 things are what are important to me.
Could you talk a bit about the strategy for having more combines south of the border? It seems like college guys now, it's either 1 year into the NBA. There must be a huge market of guys who played 4 years in a D1 school and don't want that ride to end. It seems like it would be a great pool of talent to draw from.
Yeah, you know what? As a GM of the A's, we ran a lot of combines, okay. And over half of our players in 2 years came from combines. And this year's newcomer of the year, Tyshawn Edmondson, came from a combine in South Bend, Indiana. So I know that there's a lot of talent out there, but these guys aren't from typically wealthy backgrounds, right. And so just paying for the combine fee is a bit of a task for them. Okay. To ask them to get travel expenses to someplace and come back, they often don't have opportunities. So we have a chance to do that. Also, the more our name is exposed. The first one's June 28th in South Bend, Indiana. The second one is July 5th in Los Angeles. July 25th in Washington, D.C. And then we're going to do one in Calgary. We're going to do one in Edmonton. We're going to do one in probably Montreal. Probably going to do one in Halifax. Definitely going to do one in Orangeville. And probably another 7 or 8 markets in the U.S. And by doing that, I think people in all of our markets that ultimately could feed us one day with players and who knows, potential sponsorships, have heard the name of the NBL Canada more. How you guys excited to get Coach Bond back?
Yeah.
Coach Bond.
Guys, I got a question. How you? We had talked earlier, but maybe you can address it with them. How are you going to solve the refereeing problem? What are your ideas of how you're going to shape it to make it better for the league?
The first thing is, anybody that can't beat me in a race from one side to the other will no longer be allowed to ref. Come on, we can't do that. Which, trust me, I'm the slowest person in this room. No, seriously, I think so. There's my opinion's unique in that I was a coach for a couple of years. I think I had 1 technical my first year and no technicals last year. And I'm proud of myself because I carry myself with great grace and decorum, and I never do anything that would cause anyone to want to give me a technical. Or maybe everybody else is so bad that in relative to the way they behave, I can't give that guy a technical. That's probably what it is. I was out of the box probably 60% of the time. You're not supposed to be out of the coach's box. The coach's box is there for a reason. Yeah, we have coaches that spend half their game on the court. That's not good. We as coaches, and again, I'm just as guilty as anybody else, are very demonstrative. Well, what does that say to the fans? They're not doing a good job. Also tells my players there's a reason to be upset because I'm yelling at the refs, so you must use them as an excuse as well. That's got to stop. We've got to have our coaches respect our refs better to start with. Players too. Coach Spahn will pick 2 guys to be, Cruikshank and Double A are our captains. Well, that then means anybody else that goes up to the ref needs to go through their captain. They don't need to have a Superman walking up and down the court talking to the ref the whole time, because at some point there's only so much they can do. They make mistakes, that's fine. But we need to respect them better, and I think that's the first thing we want to do. Then secondly, the game's a tough game to ref. Imagine if you're a high school CIS ref, and then these fast-paced men that play a very aggressive brand of basketball, you got a referee. Miss stuff, call too many, call too little. We need to tweak our rules to help them a little bit. One of the rules in the NBA is that if you catch a basketball, you've got 5 seconds to put it on the ground. Once you put it on the ground, you've got 5 seconds if you're closely guarded to get rid of that basketball. In FIBA rules, you get 5 seconds, you got to put it on the ground, and then you can do whatever you want to no matter how close they are. There's no 5-second call. So what that means is a big guy can get the ball and they can just bounce. Well, that's forcing my defense to bang them, or flop, or do some things. So we're going to put these 5-second rules in. The guys got to play quicker, just like the NBA does. We've got a 48-minute game and a 24-second shot clock. There's no reason why we shouldn't play that type of pace of basketball, which I think will be easier to ref. The third thing is we need a bigger pool of refs. I'd like to see us maybe get play guys that played in the NBL, specifically Canadian players that played in the NBL, to come out and be some of our refs. They know the game, they're athletic enough, and bring them in. You see a lot of the NBA former, not a lot, but there's probably 10% of the NBA refs are former NBA players. So these guys they're constantly filling their pool of talent. I think we need a broader pool of talent. And then the fourth thing is we need to help educate them a little bit better, get them better. But too many of us want to blame it's all the refs, when the reality is we've got to do these other things to make it better all the way around.
So are you going to be the one that is the buck stops here for suspensions of players and referees and coaches, or are you going to have like a dialogue group with the president and...
No, it'll be me.
It'll be you?
I'll make all decisions. There'll be an appeal process if somebody wants to appeal it. I want it to be quickly. My opinion is there should probably be one guy from each side, and then maybe the president would sit on it as well, unless his team's involved. But I would argue with our board that this year especially, give me as much free reign with discipline as we can, because again, we're coming off of a black eye. And if we're not seen as someone that takes discipline serious, I I mean, we haven't finalized anything, but I'd like to mirror the NBA drug policy. I'd like to see all of our guys drug tested before the first game. And, go into training camp and say before the first game you're all going to use a cup, and we're going to know what's what on you. And the way I think the NBA works is the first time they fail, it's up to you report that to the team, and the team does whatever they do with it. Second time there's a league suspension. Third time you're out of the league, and it starts to just the knowledge that that's going to go on cleans up the league a ton. Not that there's a drug problem in the league, but it's just those policies in place. I think really lends a lot of credibility to what we're doing. Folks, I'll tell you, one of the reasons I wanted to come to St. John first is this is one of the founding cities for our league. The other one is that I'm really impressed with the 6-man organization, and I think that if I can get my hands around it, it's something that's going to help salvage some teams and put life into some other teams, and maybe teams actually in your division. If we do that the right way, then people are invested in the community. And for those of you that are within the 6-man group, I would say it's kind of like, for me, I don't know if you've ever been in sales before, but I've sold ceiling tile, and I've sold cabinets, and I've sold credit card machines, and you get so used to talking that talk that when I would walk in, I'd look up and I'd know that's an Owens Corning fiberglass ceiling in there, and I'd know all the spec of it. Or I'd look back and I'd say that's the First Data terminal or Moneris terminal when I look at the credit. I don't mean to do it. It's just part of what I do because I was a peddler that sold that stuff. I think that type of commitment to the mill rats is what needs to happen. That everywhere you go, you're so used to talking about the mill rats, and if you've been to a game, and boy, you ought to come out. Let me be my guest. Let me get you a ticket. Come out and see this and experience it to the point, because you can do things as tentacles in the community, especially being from the community, that Ian could never do. And if you're able to do that, I just think you're going to see this model be something that we look at in sport and go, this is great. A group of local businessmen helping prop up a franchise that they want to keep in their town. And then they not only put their money in it, but they went out and spoke the good word of the gospel according to Mill Rat basketball. And people came in and had a lot of fun, and it helped grow. And I think as you look back through the ages of time, they're going to see this moment as the time that the Mill Rats really went from a team that was teetering to really being solid, and then growing into what I think could be a model franchise in North America. So thank you for allowing me to come and ramble a little bit today, and for your good questions. And the rest we can just kind of take offline and mingle some if you're okay with that. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
All right, thanks guys. Appreciate it.